Welcome back to another podcast. We are in a different setting to usual, all the way in Sydney, Australia, sat across from me, Blake Austin. What is the message, my man?
Great. Awesome to be here. I had a little moment on the way because obviously I'm not from this part of Sydney, so I've had to chuck the address in the maps. And obviously you beat me here. You were already here. And then I was thinking about giving you a call to ask you exactly where it was. And then I thought that's a bit weird to be asking a kid from the north of England where I should be going in England. So cool. Really cool to be sat here. Obviously you're out here to experience our beautiful country. I actually quite miss your country a bit, which is hard for some people to believe, but yeah, really cool to see you, man.
Well, yeah, when you said that to me earlier, I won't quite say my country or someone back in Ireland's going to shoot me, but when you said that to me earlier, missing the UK, I was like, geez, there's no way. I've been here, obviously got to Sydney yesterday, and I was like, oh my God, this is the best place ever. I was thinking, there's no way I can leave. And you're saying the opposite, that a few weeks in England wouldn't be bad. What do you think since you've hung up the boots, come home, got amongst it in the nice weather?
Brought the kids home. So what me and the missus have, like what we discuss regularly is there's no better place in Australia in the world, to raise your kids. Like for my kids being back in Oz around some of their people and back around family, I think there's no better place. But for mum and dad, like some of the friends we left behind in the UK for a few of the wrong reasons, your bottomless brunches and you're eating out and those types of things. I miss a Guinness. Man, I miss a Guinness. There's a few places you can find it in Australia, but I'm not snobby enough to say I hate when it's a bit like coffee. I hate when people say, "Oh, Guinness doesn't travel well and it tastes different." That's all crap. Like it all tastes the same, man. It's just a creamy, bitter taste. But I'm enjoying being back. I love telling people about retirement because I love saying, "Hey, it's not as bad as you think." I was so overplaying. Probably sort of carried on a bit at the back end of my career in the Super League. And part of that was because I didn't care if it finished in a way. Like, probably regret some of the way that it finished. But just my life's a lot stress-free. Like, it's different stress now because you're not paid as comfortable as you were when you played footy. But I don't have to – my life doesn't revolve around winning and losing. And in my position that I played my whole career, like I never really enjoyed the stressful side of it. You were relieved when you won and you were depressed when you lost. So jumping out of a cycle like that's been so refreshing. And I love telling people that, hey, it's pretty cool, man. Like I've always done my best stuff backed into a corner. So I'm sort of in that stage of my life again where I'm just having to come out swinging and, I'm starting to build a little bit of momentum in a few of the things I'm doing and really enjoying it.
It's so cool to hear that because I think, well, one of the things that you mentioned there is obviously riding that emotional roller coaster, and I'm 3 weeks deep into the off season now, and I feel like my body, my nervous system's just switched off from that, like that stress of playing, and I've let the emotional drain, I've drained the emotions of the semi-final and the playoffs and all this shit out of my body now. But that's 3 weeks into the off season. It's taken me to come to the other side of the world to sort of feel that, like. And then I'm back playing next week for Ireland, which is mental. But obviously you said you're moving into this next stage of your career, coming out swinging, hung up the boots, and now you're moving into like obviously a bit of teaching, bit of media, all of that. How does it feel sort of going into that transitionary period? It's a bit of a spooky one initially?
I'm a bit different. I always had this weird feeling that there was more waiting for me after playing than while I was playing. I also had this weird feeling as a player that I love the game so much that I always hated that when I was a player, I couldn't be the fan of the sport that I wanted to be. So as I said, I always had this feeling like there was more waiting for me. And if you look, I'm doing 2 or 3 different things at the moment. All of them revolve around rugby league. Like I was always certain that I'd find my place within the game. I'm doing a bit of coaching. Now, coaching is not my passion. Mentoring the youth and the next generation, that's my passion. I don't enjoy, and I'm actually quite good at it. I can teach the X's and O's, but that's not my passion. Like a lot of people have pushed me recently as to why I'm not getting into coaching. One of the reasons is I've been tied to an emblem for the last 12, 13, 14 years of my life. I'm enjoying now not having to worry about putting the beliefs of the club before my own, if that makes sense. Like, this is a silly example, but I can have a beer on a Sunday and not have to worry about my employer, the Parramatta Eels or the Canberra Raiders, or I can just be my own person. I work in a school, so I'm I'm a full-time rugby league coach in a school. So as far as jobs go, that's a pretty cool one. I stand on the oval and coach, 10-year-olds to 18-year-olds all day long. So I love making a difference there. I'm an accredited agent. I chose to do that alone because I think your reputation's everything. I think I've formed a reputation that sort of people can get behind. So I'm sort of doing that. I think I'm doing it in the right way. I'm taking it really slow. I'm learning to become the best agent that I can. So a lot of my clients at the moment are between 15 and 18, which some would argue that's too young. I'm probably in that camp as well, but I have to play to the rules of the game at the moment. And yeah, I'm mentoring kids. That's my passion. And as I go along, I'll turn into a great agent. I know that. I know I've got an eye for finding kids that are going to have long, successful careers. So I'm enjoying that. And one thing that I've always wanted to do was get involved in the media stuff. I obviously dabbled as a player, but I think I've got thoughts and ideas that sort of people resonate with and enjoy listening to. I think it's really important you speak with your audience. You don't speak to your audience. And I think I've mastered that so far. So I really want to keep going with that. But yeah, it's all rugby league based, and it's a game that has given me so much. And, I think it's got plenty more to give as well after playing.
For sure. And I think you hit the nail on the head that you're speaking with your audience. You're able to bring your perspective as a player into everything that you do, from your coaching to your agency, but you're able to sort of now step away from that playing side. Like you said, you're not attached to a club, to a badge, to training on a Monday. I can't be hungover, or I need to bring the best version of myself. But that, all of those years of playing makes your takes and your input into the media all the more relevant. And that's why I was super excited to obviously hear from you on this podcast, but more so obviously to understand you as a person. Do you know what I mean? Because playing in that high pressure environment all the time, you're in the cooker. When you're able to step out of it and you're looking at the Super League and you're looking at the NRL from a fan's point now, but you're a fan who played the game at the top level, what would you say is the biggest flaws within the game in Super League and NRL at the moment? What is stopping the game from going? Because I think we have a sport. You're passionate about it. It's so clear in what you're saying. I love playing at the moment. I think it's a sport that is slipping under the radar, to say the least. Sorry to interrupt the podcast. Just a quick one from me. I have put together a 6-week off-season program that I will be following myself for all athletes listening. If you're interested, have a look at the link in the description. Anyways, back to the show.
From your country's perspective, absolutely. I remember sitting in a speaking event when Stuart Pearce was at the front. Stuart captained England and played for Man City, and he's a big rugby league fan, close connection to the Warrington Wolves. But I remember he said to everyone in the audience that it's a little unfair how low rugby league rates in the north of England. He reckons if you could wipe everyone's memory and start fresh, he reckons there's no reason why not. Like, rugby league would be the number one sport because it's got everything. And I believe that. And hearing a football guy in your country say that, yeah, it got me excited. I think I don't know what you understand about where we're at in Australia, but we're right on the precipice of explosion. I don't think explosion for us looks like global expansion. I think it's really honing down on the areas that we're passionate about. Like, I got to experience that in England. Like, 80% of England don't give a shit about rugby league, but if you go to the right towns, then it's a religion. Like,
Yeah.
and that's, for me, that's so cool. That's one of the reasons I loved living in the UK because, one of the reasons you can go to a nightclub and you can crawl out blind drunk and no one gives a shit who you are because
Nobody knows you.
yeah, no one knows you. Do you know what I mean? You're just some stupid Aussie bloke that's drank too much. But that's just an example of, like, no one gives a crap. But if you're in Wigan or if you're in Warrington or if you're in Leeds, like, that's, as I said, it's a religion. They live and breathe it. And I like that. To me in itself is an underdog story. Like, that's people that live and breathe a sport that no one else in the country gives a shit about. And for me, that's what our sport is so special. Like, I'm from Mount Druitt, so I understand them towns. Like, Western Sydney is Heartland Rugby League. So I've grown up to know that, the best and the biggest and the baddest rugby league players come from where I come from. And if you do want to make a little bit of money and get out of, break a few cycles based on your family situation and stuff, you need to play sport. And the sport that you play is rugby league. Now, it's changing a little bit. We've got rappers and we've got UFC fighters and we've got a few different avenues for kids to take now. But it's so weird, the shift in the world. Even like, you got people now that they love a hard luck story. So you've now got rich kids that make it out that their story was tougher than what it ever was. Like coming from Mount Druitt now is one of the coolest things you can ever do. It's like I've got kids that I've raised in Canberra and the north of England, and like they think they're from Mount Druitt. I'm like, you wouldn't have a clue, bro. You've had the easiest life ever. Like that, mum and dad have done their best to make sure your life is cool, but they still think they're from the west. So yeah, in a roundabout way, I think the game here is like our TV viewing numbers are at an all-time high.
I've seen that.
The drama, like this is what's lacking in England. But like for me is I would never judge the UK because a lot of Aussies go over there on their high horse and they think they should be doing this or they should be doing that. Like people say the NRL should step in and get involved. No one understands what they're up against until you go and live there. Like football is everything. Football is life.
Yeah.
Patrice Evra said it best, I think, when he said football is life. But like you can't judge them. You've like there are some things where, you know, the administrators are stuck in their ways, but they're also doing the best with what they've got. I remember when I was there and people were like scheduling, like, what the fuck is this? Like you have to play 5 games and I'm like, yeah, but this is what's going to keep the lights on. And if you want to continue to get paid, this is the only way that they've figured out how to do it. So I don't judge. Like I think they do the best with what they've got. But the game here, man, I don't think it's scratching the surface. It's pretty cool where they're at.
Yeah, I was about to say that it's like a turning point, isn't it? It's the first time in a while it's topped the AFL numbers, isn't it? It's blown AFL out of the park this year.
It's very interesting, the comparison between NRL and AFL. I would like, and I'm a rugby league guy, but I'm also pretty modest as well. I think rugby league's a bigger sport in Australia. But at the same time, AFL in Melbourne, like the numbers they do is ridiculous. Like they'll have clubs have 50 and 60,000 members, which
Wild.
you can like that's insane. Like
Mental.
NRL clubs could only dream of that. AFL teams very regularly fill out an 80,000 stadium, and that's comp games. That's not even just finals. So there's many aspects that say AFL's a bigger sport. But I think right across Australia, like I think you'd even get AFL people tuning in for a State of Origin or a grand final. So. And I don't like it's not a great TV product.
Yeah.
Because you have to follow the ball. Whereas NRL, the whole game's right in front of you on the screen at all times. AFL's a wonderful live product. Like you put your scarf on and you go and barrack for your team. But our TV product and the drama around our sport, like people pretend like we hate a lot of we froth on it. Like talk about transfers. People are like, oh, players moving mid-season, the fans hate it. Well, let me tell you, I work a 9 to 5 and I'm in the office. And what do you reckon's the only thing we talk about?
Literally
like
everyone
Galvin's
moving.
going to Dogs. And yeah, sure, there's a few angry Dogs fans, but then there's a few Tigers fans going, sucked in, your comp's been derailed. So it all ebbs and flows. I think when it's your team that's on the receiving end of some of those like types of decisions, you get a bit frustrated. But let me tell you, it creates so much conversation. It's it's cool.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And I suppose comparing it to the Super League, there's a long way to go. There's a long way. It's chalk and cheese. It's like watching 2 different games, isn't it? It's 2 different products on TV, 2 different games. And what I love about what you're saying is, one, how excited you are about where the NRL is at. Well, I'm more curious about what you think can bridge that gap in the Super League.
What I noticed. So, like I'm someone that always had a lot of interest in the big picture of the sport. But in the UK, I always thought that Sky Sports only purchased 3 games a weekend. But what people don't understand is Sky Sports own the rights to every single game. But for the last 15 years, they've only placed 3 games on TV.
Yeah.
So like I know my family back home, they would have to check which games you've been scheduled for a TV game. Obviously being at Leeds and Warrington, you get a few more. But so for me, the Sky Sports have a duty to the game. So obviously now every game's live on TV.
Every game's live now.
So that in itself has got us up to a level that gives us a better chance.
Behind the paywall though, it's plus and stuff like that. So there's still room for it to be on the main channels. Do you know what I mean?
So what do you get it on now?
So you can get some of the games you get on your Sky Sports Mix, your Arena, so the lower Sky Sports, the odd one on main event. But some of them are behind Sky Sports Plus. Okay. Do you know what I mean? So it's not even like the main TV guide. It's like behind that.
Well, I mean, we're having all these chats at the moment because we're coming up for a broadcast deal in the NRL. And there's like, hey, Netflix might want to come in. Amazon might want to come in. But at the end of the day, you need to know your target market. You'd hate for, like Rugby Union, I think they've messed up. I mean, their fan base may be a little bit more wealthy and maybe don't get as upset about it. But what I don't want to do, and football's a bit the same, and football do some weird things too, which I've been thinking about recently. Like
the
football don't
blackout.
show every game on TV.
Yeah, they do that
And everyone
blackout.
plays at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. Like,
Yeah, it's a full TV blackout, so no, you can't watch it.
but so I don't think the fans in Australia would even understand that about this, like the money that they generate. But then yet you can't watch every game live on TV.
It's mental, isn't it?
It is pretty insane.
It's mental. It's mental. And
So yeah, it's interesting. I think getting every game live on TV, I think, is important. Back to the NRL, like they're looking at like those other subscription model things. I don't think our fans get behind that. I think it'll be an initial cash injection. I think a Netflix or someone like that would pay a lot of money, but I think you'd slowly pay off your fan base. Like me growing up, and I know you've got to let go of nostalgia at some point, but so Fox Sports have got a large chunk of the game, but it's still, I watched the grand final and I watched the Origin on Channel 9 because that's what we grew up on, free to air TV, Friday night footy. Like, I think we need to protect the fabric of the sport, but also be willing to sort of grow it and expand it as well.
And strike that sort of right balance between expansion, like you said, and not burning people. Because once you burn people, that's it. If you burn people for money and it seems like a money grab with Netflix or something like that, your fans get pissed off and you lose it a lot. You lose it. I think touching on that and touching on sort of the rugby union element as well, it's an exciting time for rugby league. The Ashes is about to happen, which is massively exciting. Big international fixture. I'm a big believer in international rugby in general. I think rugby union have it right with the international, and I don't believe rugby league will ever be able to get to that level of international. But I think that there has to be a way. Obviously, being from Ireland, I'm more passionate about playing for my country, and I don't just think it should be Australia and England. But there has to be a way of scheduling international so that they all matter. Do you know what I mean? That it's not just the Pacific Championship, which everyone loves watching those games. You get New Zealand versus Tonga and Samoa, and then the Ashes. But how do you find an international rugby league schedule where it all matters? Because the next World Cup has 10 teams in it. Yeah. How can you call that a fucking World Cup? It's not a World Cup, is it really?
Yeah, it's a tough one. It is a tough one. Like I did a bit of, and I was a bit tongue in cheek, but I actually don't think we can have the international game that we want until we park Origin to the side a little bit, which sounds crazy because Origin's been our biggest money spinner for a long time. And I reckon in a weird way, we need a bigger world game than we do a State of Origin. State of Origin makes so much money. But I've got this belief that I reckon all that money that we make with State of Origin could easily be brought over to our international game. You're going to get to see a Tonga Samoa game next week in Brisbane. Now, you can't tell me that the atmosphere they're going to create there supersedes an Origin by tenfold. Now, the issue at the moment is there won't be the same corporate dollars spent because State of Origin's our biggest product.
Yeah.
But until we can move that aside a little bit, we're not going to get the buy-in from players because, every year we're chatting about eligibility. We need to let these smaller nations get their players back when they want them and when the players want to go. I 100% guarantee that the only thing that's stopping them fully committing to their nations, and you can probably work it out, it's the 30 grand match payment that's involved with State of Origin.
Yeah.
So they've done the right thing now. They've lowered the Australian match payment for the international stage, which that's great, but you'd be letting go of the $90,000 to play State of Origin a year if you played 3 games. So you move that aside, we try and get all that money into our international game. We're over 50% Polynesian and Indigenous community now. Like I think it's time to really bring those people and that fan base into the equation.
Absolutely, and I think it's the excitement as well of having strong Pacific nations, and then, well, I'd love to see a strong Ireland, a strong Scotland, a strong Wales in the mix eventually, and a strong France.
I think one of the coolest things about, you probably felt the buzz back home, but I'd say England's got a bit of a feeling, hey, this might be our time to strike. Like Aussies have, Payne Haas has gone back to Samoa. You've got a lot of players that have now gone away from Australia. So if you looked at their team, I'd say you can't be as sure about what the Australians are going to be producing. Because for 10, 15 years now, with Cam Smith, Cooper Cronk, Billy Slater, Greg Inglis, those guys, it became boring to be an Aussie fan. So what was the point of tune? I know you got to see the greatest players go at it, but you knew what was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Cameron Smith would kick you to a corner. Cooper Cronk would set up a try. Billy Slater would score there, and the game's done. You know what I mean? Last World Cup, you've seen England had a lot of hope the whole way through. You've seen Samoa dash them hopes in the semi at Arsenal Stadium. So you can see what we can start to create. I reckon a little bit more of like a little bit more in how do you say it? Inconsistencies with Australia. I think that's actually going to bring a lot of Aussie fans back into the equation, because what you're also going to see, you're going to get a lot of Aussie fans that get embarrassed by the Pacific following that some of them teams are going to have. Then you're going to, because what does it mean to be Aussie? No one really knows anymore. We don't have a full on culture. But in a football term, I reckon us seeing us struggle a little bit more is going to reignite that Aussie fan back into the equation. And you've seen what the Tongans do, man. Like, they'll party for weeks if they win a game, and even if they lose, they'll still be 10,000 flock down to the local shopping centre and fill the whole car park, and they'll sing and they'll dance. So I think we need to lean into that. That needs to be our big ticket item. And if that meant that state of origin sort of falls to the side, because Origin's so different now. Like, it used to be, it used to be 34 white guys that was considered a selection process for Australia. You know what I mean? Now the world's so small that, we're going to be a mixed race world soon. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've got kids that will be able to represent 4 different nations. Now, I know that patriotism is really important, but they should be able to represent their nations based on different ideas around that. So I think lean into that as much as we can.
Absolutely, and I'm obsessed with international rugby. I think it's the most special part of the game. I think it needs to be scheduled in terms of either in the Super League, in the NRL, in terms of a mid-season fixture. I'd love to see there be a unanimous schedule where players are released to allow play, or an end-of-season agreement where everyone's allowed to play. No one's being held back from playing in this, whether it be before the season, after the season, so you get the best product. And speaking of, obviously, eligibility and stuff, you got to play for Great Britain.
Yeah.
Actually seen the team list come up on however long ago. Tell us a little bit about that, because that was a bit mad, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was a little bit sad how it sort of panned out in the end. Like, I felt like the tour was a shambles. I felt like I probably added to that a little bit. I was so proud to be there, and my reasons were different to everyone else in the team. My grandmother was pretty close to the most special person in my life. She was born in Twickenham. In and around the war, sort of got moved to Wales. Her and her siblings moved out of London because it was obviously a big threat. So they got moved to Wales, somehow made their way back to mum and dad in Twickenham, and then come to Australia on the last ever seaplane. So if you imagine flying from England to Australia on a seaplane, I found her, she had certificates. She used to get a certificate for crossing the equator and things like that. So she was a 10-pound pom, and actually, no, she wasn't, because they paid to come over. So I'm wrong about that. But we've still got their address where they lived in Twickenham. So for me, as I always said, I understood that when we lined up for the anthem, I had 16 teammates that I know it meant a little bit more for them. But for me, I knew why I was doing it. And there was my grandmother, who was my biggest supporter. She, for her to know that I was stood on that field because of her was really cool. As it panned out, call it, I don't know what you'd call it. It's a bit spooky, but Nen passed away about 2.5 weeks after the tour. So on one of the last nights of the tour, we were in PNG, and I got a call to say Nen had gone into hospital, and it was sort of out of the blue. So for me, I always had this feeling that, one of the last things she done on this earth was watch me do what I done. My Nen was my biggest supporter, some pretty crazy stuff. I remember I just debuted, so I was about 20 years old, right? And it's a weird story. A lot of Aussies would understand it. I don't know if you will, but they used to pick the state of origin team on a Sunday night. So on the Sunday news at 6 p.m, they used to pick the origin team. Now, that weekend that I was playing NRL as a 20-year-old kid, we had a Monday night game. So the day after they picked it, we had an origin game. I remember my nan called me and she's like, Blake, it's so unfair that you don't get to play before they pick this origin team because your game's the day after they select it. So if you have a blinder, it won't count for anything. But I was like, Nan, I'm 20 years old. There's no way in hell I'm playing state of origin. But she looked at me in that sort of light. I was, she was a tough woman, man. Breast cancer at 28, had breasts removed. She had ulcers all down her legs, lymphedema, but she just never complained. She was a tough old thing, man. And I'm so proud to have done what I done for her. The actual tour was a shambles. It was it was a bit funny. Like, so interestingly, I actually left my family in England. So we toured Australia and PNG, but I actually left them there. So the kids stayed in school, and my plan was to fly straight back after the tour, and we're actually going to go to Miami on a family holiday. As it panned out, Cos Neng got sick. My poor missus had to fly all the way from England out to Australia on her own, and we lost sort of money on the holiday. But yeah, so I left them there, and then so the first night of the tour, Wayne Bennett sits everyone down, and I understand what he was doing. Like, he tried to give a bit of clarity on what each individual's tour would look like. So I kid you not, there's like 30 guys or 25 guys in a room, each on a chair. So he points at each individual one, and after he points at each individual, he gives a bit of a spiel on what role you'll play. So he was like, he's like, oh, Johnny Lomax, like, England, great, like, you're going to play a lot, be ready, fullback, 5'8", whatever. He gets to Jackson Hastings, he says, England's been crying out for a number 7. You're going to get every chance on this tour to become that number 7. Then he gets to me and he says, I'm not really sure where you fit. I'll try and get you a game, but no guarantees. Then he looked at George Williams and he said the same thing. So he went all the way around the room. So we walk out and go, fuck me, like, what do we do for the next 6 weeks? So we become the bomb squad. Like, we're drinking 3 nights a week and fucking interesting enough. Wayne loves the non-plays to go out and have a beer because he doesn't want you moping around the hotel.
Yeah, 100%. We were the same on World Cup. Like, non-players had to go out for a bit.
But we're like, man, I'm away from my family for 6 weeks and the blokes just told me I'm not going to play. But so I end up just having a crack on every session that we're involved in because I felt like I could make a difference in the halves. I didn't get that opportunity. He threw me on the wing, which that was a story in itself. It was out of me and Cootie who could play on the wing. And Cootie had a stinker. He got the first crack at the fullback position, Cootie, but he played Tonga in Hamilton and he had a rough match. I think he dropped a few bombs and so he wasn't great. And then we lost our whole back line. So it sort of come down to me and Cootie. And in my head, I thought, I'm 95 kilo, fair frame. I think I'd be better in the backfield. I knew that I'd be it'd be nerve-wracking to catch a few kicks. I ended up dropping the first one, which was, it was a sitter. Like, I should have caught it. So I said, yeah, I'm willing to put my hand. I did my best in yardage. I carried strong and stuff, but it's a scary position, wing, man. Wayne pulled me out of the warm-up. We're warming up. He says, Blake, come here. So me and him just go and stand beside the warm-up. He's got a footy and he starts chucking it in the air, just like 8 foot in the air. So I start leaping for it above my head, catching it. Leaping, catching it. He goes, no, mate, just let it come into the bread basket. So he tosses about 8 of them up and I'm just catching them like that. He goes, we need a winger this week. What do you reckon? I said, yeah, man, I'll have a crack. He goes, well, get back in there. You're on the wing. So that's how I got to play on the wing. I scored a try, but I get to frame a Great Britain jersey. And what you can't see when you frame a jersey is you can't see the number on the back. So I tell people it's a number 6, and I also tell people we played against Australia at Wembley and we beat them. So I'm so proud, man. I've got a Great Britain jersey at home. I understand what it means to the people over there. I seen AJ Brimson's been picked for England in the last few days, and everyone will have an opinion. I get that, but you can only do what you think's best for you. That was part of my reasoning for going to the Super League as well, because I knew that my allegiance was there. I also, once I was living there and paying tax there, and I have English blood, and like I honestly felt like it was right for me to pledge, and I genuinely thought I had a right to be there. So
yeah. And there's nothing better than playing for your country and representing your family. And people have this debate back home in Ireland. Obviously, rugby league is non-existent back home in Ireland. It's in the north of England and that, but it's not in Ireland. It's all rugby union. There's no rugby league, and there's a lot of lads who come and play for Ireland from the Super League. Like your ex teammates, yours, like from Warrington, from Leeds, have come. They come and play for Ireland, and anyone to me who gives up their off season, potentially has a shortened off season, gives up their time, risks injury for their career, because you don't get paid for playing for fucking Ireland. You're not making there's no financial benefit. You're not going to get a new Super League deal because you played for Ireland in a World Cup. Anyone who does that, to me, in itself deserves, whether you were born in England, whether you were born in Ireland, wherever you were born, if you're willing to do that and willing to sacrifice yourself, and like you said, you're 6 weeks away from your family, that in itself shows your commitment to the cause and what you're doing.
There's an element to it, that I can respect. Like I fully knew that there would be people that would be against the decision. Now, but also for me, I think some of the UK, some of the English, so England and Ireland, that have a lot of passion for their country, which I think is really important too. Like I mentioned earlier that I'm not 100% sure what Australia's culture is. I almost believe that Australia's culture is the fact that we don't have a culture, which then I think is a culture in itself. We're sort of, we're a nation that's pretty willing to absorb a lot of different cultures, which, as I said, I think is a culture in itself. But I can fully respect those Englishmen and Irishmen that love their country. I can respect that fully. Like, I always knew that there'd be knockers, but you can only ever do what you think's right for you.
Yeah, for sure, and that's the same in everything in life, isn't it? It's not just playing footy. There's always going to be someone who's saying to you, you shouldn't do that, or that's not the right thing to do. When this time a year ago, I released the first episode of this podcast, did I think I was going to be sat across this table on the other side of the world?
Did you also think, you would have 10 teammates ridicule you for doing it? Of course you did, because you know what the locker room's like.
Exactly, but you have to be willing to ride that and be thick-skinned enough to go, you know what, like, I don't really care what anybody thinks about me, or I don't care about what you think of what I'm doing, because I'm going to do it anyways. Yep. If not, you're never going to kick on with anything. Yep. That's like whether it's in a locker room or just in life in general. You sort of have to wear a few and have a few people laugh at you at first, and then someone goes to you 6 months down the line, you know what, I listened to your podcast with so-and-so. That was actually all right. Same with you when, like, I remember when you started doing Blake's Takes. You started releasing that, and people are gonna say whatever the fuck they think about you, and the sun's still gonna rise the next day, and 100%. you're still gonna have to crack on with it. And that's in your career in football. Someone's gonna think you're good. Someone's gonna think you're the worst player on earth.
But that's the other part of our sport that's ever evolving. Like, players are starting to take control of their own media, which I think is unbelievable. I think Chad Townsend, I don't mind saying this. I found him quite boring when he first started. I think he tried to manufacture a lot of energy and stuff on camera, which I think if it's not cringe, you've probably started too late. But he's the best example of, I think he's been the best Australian footy player that's shown that if you just stay consistent, like I think he sits somewhere around 50,000 subs on YouTube now, which you being in the game, you'd understand what 50,000 subs on YouTube, like that's insane.
Mental.
But he's just stayed consistent. Like, he's doing his talk shows away. That's why in retirement he'll be fine. But he just stayed consistent, and he would have been the laughing stock of the locker room at times. Like, you know what the professional sporting environment's like. You can't do it. Like, you get a haircut, man, and the biggest stress that you've got is, I got to face my teammates. I'll have 5 teammates that'll tell me I've been butchered by the hairdresser, or there's parts of that I miss.
I was going to say, do you miss it?
Yeah, because
you'd be at the front of that though. Usually, you were the king of that. You were the king of having people.
But I try and bring that to like a normal working environment. So you got to tread a fine line so that you're not sat in front of HR 3 times a week. But at the same time, man, like people, I remember when I used to meet fans, and I used to actually enjoy taking the mick out of fans a bit, because you're actually giving them the most authentic experience. Like, if you're like, hey mate, how are you? You good? But if you took the mickey out of them a bit, they were then like someone that was part of the locker room. I say to a lot of people now, if I'm taking the piss out of you, it means I like you. I think you should be more concerned if I'm not, because it means I'm not comfortable enough around you to do so. So yeah, it's very interesting. The locker room, man, how, like, you think physios, like, you'd have a physio that's gone to uni for 3 or 4 years, and he's come up with all these great ideas, and he gets in the gym, he says, hey guys, got this cool idea. If you do this, it's going to make you better. And you're like, yeah, good one, mate. Good on you. Yeah, good on you. Like, I seen Sandor Earl speaking recently. He said the main thing he noticed when he went to Melbourne was doing extras was actually the norm. How many clubs have you been at where you're doing extras where people will ridicule you?
Oh, did they put the ball down?
Good on you, mate. Put the ball away. Like, but yeah, that's what he noticed about Melbourne. If you weren't doing the extras, you were the odd one out. So it's a volatile environment. I speak to some young physios and I say, you realize you're not in the medical industry, you're in the service industry. So if you want to go into sport, you're there to service 40 blokes. Now, you'll know too that the physio room in any club is the heart and soul of, that's where everything goes
That's where all the energy flows from the physio room.
Everything goes down. So the physio needs to have a personality that can handle 40 blokes that have massive egos and love to come in. And we're all very performative too, I find, in professional sport.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like some of the chats that go down in the physio room, man, like we used to love taking the mick out of physios, and if you had physios that couldn't handle it and couldn't just let you have it, then you'd see a bit of weakness and you'd keep going at them. The best ones were the ones like, yeah, you're right, man. Like we had one at Canberra. They used to say, Conrad, like, you shouldn't have to go to uni to be a physio, man. At the end of the day, you see the same 5 injuries all year. But he'd agree, he'd be like, yeah, you're right. But then you'd say that to some young physio that's just come out of uni and they'd get offended. But as soon as I see that they're offended, what do you think that means?
You're
That
just
means we're
hammering
going
them.
at it.
You're just hammering them. Our S&C this year at Bradford, I kept saying to them, you got your degree off Timu, or they'd give anyone a degree nowadays, wouldn't they? They'd give anyone an S&C degree. But he's good value. Like he just smiles and laughs
Puts a
about
drill
it.
up. Where'd you get this YouTube?
Yeah,
Like,
YouTube drill. But that's the energy that you get off it, and
Yeah.
I have no doubt when I hang up the boots, that's what I'm going to miss the most, because you come away from this game and you're battered and broken, and you've won some games, you've lost some games, but the people that you meet on this journey, that's what it's all about, isn't it? And the crack that you have and the stories that you
little
share.
moments, man.
The little
even
bits.
Like, even a tough loss and you sat in a video room and one of your teammates speaks up and the other one speaks up. Then you come out and you got like 6 teammates who go over here and go, what was that bloke on about? He's talking like it was his fault. Why is he blaming me? And then you'll have another 6 over there going, no, he's the one that he's to blame. And it's the little moments like that. I remember some of the meetings we sat in at Leeds. Like, it's actually, when you look back on it, it's like, it's not real life, man. It's so comedic.
No, it can't be. It can't be.
We sat in one at Leeds, and it was Richie Meyer. It was all the spine, but Rowan had asked the young kids to come in. Now, Richie Myler wasn't happy with how we were playing footy, our attack. Me and Siege weren't quite happy either. But what people realised was me and Siege were willing to speak up. So everyone we're sat in this meeting, right? And they're like, come on, guys, we've got to get to the bottom of this. I'm like, well, get to the bottom of what? Like, we've said what we needed to say. And then, so the meeting's like coming to an end. And Richie ends up going, he says, he goes, Osso and C, he's like, I feel like you haven't said everything you want to say. I'm like, well, you can speak. Why don't you tell him what you want to say? And then Richie ended up saying something like, yeah, like the other day you told me you hate the way we play. And then I went, all righty, Dickie, we're going to talk about what we've been saying, have we? I said, you said you hate Rowan's attack and this is not how you want to play. So you got people like young Jack Sinfield, man. He's sitting in the room going, well,
what is going on
here?
here?
Go on then, Rick. Go on, Dickie. Why don't you speak up? So, but like, I look back on them times, man. It's like, it's not real life.
Nah, it isn't. You look back and you're just pissing yourself laughing. Like I was in a video with Luke Robinson. He's head coach at Huddersfield now, and he's got our A defender and he's spamming on the space bar like this. Are you gonna go get him now? And the frame moves now. When are you gonna go? Oh my! We walked out. You walk out of a meeting like that.
But how good are the chats when you come out?
You're fucking pissing
like,
yourself.
bro, what was he? Fuck, he's lost the plot. We sat in a few with Agar that were pretty good. I remember towards the end, he was like, he stood at the front. He's like, I remember one, like, because we'd been losing. We were awful with Agar. I don't know what it was. I think they kept talking about Leeds' DNA was throw the ball around, which they kind of thought that's how I like to play. But I actually need a lot of structure. And we weren't very good. And I remember he stood at the front. He said something. This was the week before he quit. But he said something like, I upgraded you. I got you more money. I upgraded your contract. And this is how you repay me. And we're like, okay, mate. Gary Hetherington's another one. We sat in a room with him. He's such a good operator, but he's brazen. Like, he don't give a shit, man. He'll tell you to your face that you're only worth 60 grand when you think you're worth 120. And he'll tell you exactly why you're only worth that much. So, man, it's the best time. Some of the memories you have. I remember being at Penrith when Matt Elliott got sacked. I'm an 18-year-old kid sat in the room, and Petro Civoniceva and Luke Lewis they've demanded to see the CEO. Get him down here. We want to speak to him. So I'm in this video room. I'm like, I don't really give a shit what's going on. I don't care who the coach is. But Petro stands up and says, hey, mate, you promised you would consult us before you sacked him. Why haven't you? And you got Mick Leary, the CEO, going, Petro, settle down. My door was always open. But I'm like wide-eyed as a kid. And I think back to like Sinny in these moments at Leeds. Like, he would have been similar, but the hard thing is we're all prima donnas too. Like a lot of footballers are prima donnas, and I've got a theory that it is a team sport, but I also think it's 17 individuals looking for the next contract.
Yeah.
And I reckon most players would shit on the next guy to get the deal that they want as well. So like I've always had a theory on that. Like that's how I've always looked at sport, because I know that at the end of the day, every single person that's paid to be involved in sport just want to feed their kids at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So your coach will do what he thinks is best to feed his kids, and me as the halfback will do what's best to feed my kids. And anyone that says differently, I disagree with. But I also wasn't successful, so I never seen a team environment that was fully humming, and that may be why. But I probably always valued, because of my upbringing, I reckon in Western Sydney, I always valued the money side of it. I always saw rugby league as, I always thought earning more money was going to be more beneficial than, having a few premiership rings. So, but it's interesting. It is really.
For sure. And obviously reflecting on your upbringing, rugby league sort of changed your life. Was the footy show? I'm sure every single person asked you about this, but listen, have to ask you, don't I? How was that as a youngster?
You don't really know what, like I was 9, so you don't really understand it at that age.
Yeah.
But now what I understand now about mortgages and about, the money, the parents' wages growing up, like I understand that it was pretty cool. Because the issue with most families from Western Sydney is most families can service a mortgage, but what they can't do is they can't come up with a lump sum deposit for a house.
Yeah.
So me winning the car meant mum and dad now had a house deposit, which meant that allowed them to get on they still live in the same house today in Mount Druitt that they haven't done a thing to. They were clever enough to know that they didn't want the car. They wanted the cash. So they sold the car straight back to Holden. But yeah, it is pretty cool, man.
It's sick looking back on little things like that, though, isn't it? It's reflecting on what rugby league can give you in life. Do you know what I mean?
And it's still giving me stuff. Like
Yeah.
I always knew that no matter, like even after playing, that there was going to be a lot for me in and around the game. And as it's panning out, there is, like if you put in the work and if you can get people to buy into your beliefs and ideas, then there's plenty to be had after playing as well.
Absolutely. And you sort of spoke on your career there, and you said, like, obviously you felt like it was more financially beneficial, that you value that more than potentially winning. When you're talking about the environments that you've been in throughout the Super League and the NRL, where do you feel like you were playing your best footy and it felt like the right environment for you, that was bringing out the best side of you and the best sort of team environment as well?
Yeah,
where it wasn't people playing for themselves, I guess.
Well, the thing is, one of the coolest things you do when you retire is you reflect back on everything that you've been through. One of the reasons why I think I'm well placed for what I'm doing after footy is because, I actually never believed that I deserved to be where I was with footy, in a weird way. Like, I was pretty good really young, so between 9 and 13, which sounds crazy to say I was a freak, but I was pretty good back then. And being from Western Sydney, you can actually form a bit of a reputation in the area, even at that young age. I used to wear a blue headgear. I remember I didn't even know C's then, but C's knew about the kid from Western Sydney with the blue headgear. We used to go to carnivals and verse each other. So, I was pretty good back then. But then I had a large chunk where I went from being a 5'8" to I started getting moved around a lot from the Panthers in their development stuff. I went to hooker, I went to lock. I grew a bit, so they thought I'd be a lock. Then they said you might be a center. But so I had a lot of insecurities as a half. Like, I got taught pretty young that I'm not really a natural half. I have my own version of what a half looks like. But I carried a lot of insecurities with that. Then I came into grade, and over a 3-year period, I played 12 NRL games. So once again, you're going, shit. I used to have like crippling anxiety around being a half. I tell kids now, I love working with kids in a school because I struggled in a training environment. When you're doing opposite training or unopposed, there's no wrestle.
Yeah.
So it's very fast. And I used to be, stop yelling I used to be that guy. Like, I don't know what play I'm going to run, but when I get the ball, we'll put something on and we'll see what happens. I struggled in that environment of everyone wants to know what's happening. That, like, I was a bit of a, we'll see what happens. I'll run the footy and I'll get you an offload and we'll score a try. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when I first come in them training environments, I convinced myself, do you know what? Maybe I'm not a half, because I used to panic in those sort of environments. So I like telling kids that at training. So when I see they're a bit rattled about what happened on the training paddock today, I just remind them, hey, it's a lot faster than what it's going to be in a game. In a game, you will get people in the positions they need to be. Training's a bit different to games. So I love teaching them that. But I was pretty insecure, and I never felt like I belonged. So I finally got to Canberra and people started to see the player that I could be. Like, I had some fucking pretty good years, like some fucking real good years, if I'm honest. Like, what I done in 2015 was pretty cool. 2016 as a team, we did our job and we went from with one game of the grand final. We had a couple of years where we were lean after that. Then I come to Super League, and it takes a pretty similar path. Like I had, my first year at Warrington was unbelievable. I was pretty untouchable. My second year probably dropped off a little bit, was still pretty good, and then my third year probably dropped off again, but was I think still pretty good. Similar at Leeds, I reckon. In a weird way, I think I played my best footy at Leeds, and I actually credit Rowan Smith for that, which is bizarre because I left Leeds in a blaze of glory. I probably regret the way I left. But
Tell us a bit about that exit.
Yeah, I felt let down a little bit. Rowan had sort of told me to my face that there was a contract coming. So I was calm. Like, I was telling all my family everything's sweet. I'm going to stay another year. In my head, mentally, I wanted to play another year, get everything ready to go home. Playing another year would have allowed me to get my leave to remain in the UK because I can get an ancestry visa, but I can't get a passport because my mum didn't hold a passport at the time of my birth. So my mum can go tomorrow and get a passport, but I can only get an ancestry visa. So I was excited to get my leave to remain because I regret leaving England knowing that I can't just go back and live whenever I want. I did 5 years there, so I hate that I can't just go back because I'd love to go back at some point. But then 6 or 7 weeks went by and I was actually playing really good footy. I honestly believe that year at Leeds, I played some of the best footy I've ever played, and I owe that to Rowan. I love the way he looks at the game. He taught me how to play in a way that really suited my footy. But then, I went back to him and said, like, we had a chat 8 weeks ago, what's going on? He said, there's been a couple of things come up that made me change my mind. I think one of them was I had an argument with Cam Smith at training. One of them was something else. And I said, that's fine, but like, when were you going to let me know? And he's like, I'm not saying I'm not going to sign you. I've been reconsidering and I'm going to think about it a bit longer. So I said to him, like, I ended up leaving and going to Cass. I helped them stay up that year, which Cass is a shit show, man. Fucking careful what you wish for, man, because I walked into Cass and, bro, that place was off tap.
So how's that when you've been in, obviously, NRL systems, Warrington, lot of money
Warrington,
in the club,
Leeds, very good.
Very big club, Leeds.
Like,
and
if you can go to there's 5 or 6 clubs that you can go to and you can rely on a fairly professional environment. Warrington's one of my favorite, but Warrington and Canberra I can't split. Like, my 2 favorite clubs in my career for obvious reasons. I played some good footy and I met some really good people. Both of them periods remind me of each other. And then I probably underestimated Leeds a bit. I found Leeds a funny environment from the start. I remember when I signed there, I got added to the WhatsApp and I said, hey, boys, can't wait to get started, meet you all, blah, blah, blah. I think I had 3 replies and they were all Aussies. So I was like, fuck, did you see that WhatsApp? Like, fucking no one replied to me. So I was like, I walked in a bit nervous. All the boys ended up being awesome. In the end, I was playing good footy. I think I got 2 or 3 man of the matches in a row, and then I won Player of the Month. And every time you get man of the match, you get to do an interview, and when you get Player of the Month, you get to do another interview. And I sort of ran my mouth, which breathed a bit of life into the sport, but probably for my future was not a great idea. Jenna Brooks asked me about my contract after one of my man of the matches, and I said, I don't know if Gary's been watching the game because I think I'm playing pretty well and no one's spoken to me about a contract.
I think I remember that, actually.
So the first one was a bit of a giggle. Like, the fans were kind of split. They were like, good on him. He's playing well and he deserves a contract. And the other half were like, what an arrogant piece of shit. So the first one I reckon enough people gave me a bit of leeway. But then they gave me Player of the Month, and obviously Sky come down to record you getting the award, and Jenna knew what she was doing. And by this point, as I said, I didn't give a shit whether my career ended. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to create a bit of theatre. And I sort of doubled down. I said that it was something like, I'd spoke to Rowan and so I doubled down on it. And then a week went by and Gareth Widdop reached out from Cass and he said, someone at Cass wants to know if you want to come and help us, avoid relegation. So I went to Rowan and said, listen, if I stick around here, man, because I know what I'm like too. I said, I'm going to run my mouth and I'll be toxic. So I said, I think it's best for everyone if I just get out. I felt a bit bad on the players because we were still in finals contention at Leeds. So it was pretty selfish what I'd done in the end. And as I said, I kind of regret it, but at the same time, you do with the cards you dealt. And I thought that was the best case scenario. I helped Cass stay up. I had a few good weeks there, but it was a shit show.
Yeah.
I went all in on the Fev deal.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if people know this, but Fev were the only ones the following year that were willing to pay me anything near what I thought I was worth. Like, I was realistic. I was 33 or whatever, and I knew my money had come down. Like, I went to Warrington on huge money, and then I went to Leeds on a bit less. I was probably on a lot less at Leeds than what people expected based on what I was on at Warrington. But so then I said to Fev, yes, sweet, I'll do a 2-year deal with them. But as you do, you have to sit back and you have to watch the £1 million game. So I remember being out. I took my daughter to a female football match. Now I'm at a point where, you know that your future's like in a bit of limbo here. I'd had a few other offers. I think Salford had offered me like 80 grand, and like my ego said I'm not going to stay in a foreign country for less money than what I thought. I had an offer. Cass were offering me money, but I set my value at a limit that I didn't care if they said no. So I said, I wanted 140 grand or something like that, and they couldn't come to that level. So then I was like, all my chips are in on Fev. Fev were going to pay for my leave to remain. So as it worked out, like if Fev hadn't got promoted and I stayed, I reckon I'd live in England for the rest of my life. So sort of silver linings coming back to Oz, and I reckon I'm glad I did. But I remember sitting at I took my daughter to watch Liverpool women, and I'm sat in the stands with the £1 million game in my hand. Now, if you remember Fev's season that year, they must have been 10 points clear mid-season, and it was all looking
flying. Yeah, they were flying.
Who beat them?
So what happened that game? It's actually funny. Is London beat Fev in the semi and then went on to beat Toulouse in the final in France, and then London got promoted in 23 from 5th.
Yeah.
They finished, I think Fev won league leaders that year. I'm nearly sure Fev won league leaders because Lee had gone up the year before. So everyone was like, this is Fev's year. Fev's opportunity to go all in, get promoted, and then obviously, inevitably.
So I'm sat in the stands, like, and it's your future. You're watching your future.
You're watching the money go away.
And you go and like, you look at your missus like, then they get 2 behind and I think it's done. They score again and you're like, babe, I don't know what we're going to do. Like, we need to start packing up our house. So,
it's madness, isn't it?
It is madness.
It's crazy, the sport that we live and that we enjoy and that we play, in the roller coaster that we ride. As we sit here right now, tomorrow and the next day, I'm gonna find out if Bradford Bulls are in the Super League or not next year. We're both gonna find out who's in the Super League next year and what direction the English Super League goes, as it goes from 12 to 14 teams, as the championship merges together in the second division, and nobody knows what's going on. And as a player, it's crazy, isn't it? And the best frame, and the frame that I love, I use this with my online clients. I use this with anyone who speaks to me, any younger athlete, anything like that, is with the tools you had at the time, you made the best decision.
Yeah.
And that's all you did. When you went to CAS, for everything that you knew at the time, because it's easy to reflect. You have 20/20 hindsight, don't you? For everything that you had at the time, you felt like you made the best decision for you and your family. And that's all you can do. And you can live a happy career then, can't you? If you go, for the knowledge I had in that moment, I think I made the best decision for me.
Yeah.
But you're always riding that sort of wave, aren't you? You're always riding that uncertainty as a professional athlete.
It's unhealthy, man. Like, I joked about it when I retired. Like, professional sport, it's unhealthy. Like, if you think about what our life is, like, you're just a nervous wreck. Like, I've always been a fingernail biter, but you're a nervous wreck. You sit around with your mates in coffee shops all day. You have 10 coffees a day, and then you wonder why you can't sleep at night. You've had a bad day at training, so you come home, you lay in bed, you flick on your phone. Like, your kids haven't spoke to you all afternoon. Like, there is a side to, and that's why I love mentoring kids, because I say, hey, it's awesome, but it's fucking hard. Like, it is so hard. Like, there would have been, and the worst thing is some of the darkest moments I had in my career were at a time where it seemed like I had everything. But how do you tell people you're struggling when, hey, fuck, he's earning 700 grand a year and he's playing 5'8" for the Canberra Raiders, and do you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to be a complainer when it seems like you've got everything you wanted. So, but that's why I always thought everything I was doing in my career was just, it was giving me the tools to deal with after my career.
Yeah.
I love that I don't play anymore. I actually watch games sometimes, and it's weird, but because I was a bigger body, sort of 5'8", but I watch now and I think, how the fuck did I used to play that? Like, these blokes are so big, man. Funny story about that too. Like, we, obviously in the Super League, I'd been there for a little while. We went to the grand final with Leeds, played at Old Trafford, lost to St Helens, a very good St Helens team. Gary Hetherington thinks it'd be a great idea if we play the New Zealand Rugby League team 7 days later. Remember that?
For the prep for the World Cup.
For the prep.
I played the Kiwis in that World Cup in the group stages. But yeah, for the prep I remember that. I was talking to Caesar Bentos and that.
We got guys flying back from being in Benidorm for 5 days, coming back to play a game, and silly me, like I'm going, do you know what? I think I've gone through the Kiwis list, and I start to think, do you know what? I think we can do all right. We got beat fucking 84-6. I fractured my eye socket in the game. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? But Gary, to make a buck, he thought it'd be a great idea. But some of the athletes on that day, like, gave me a real, like, I was like, they're too fast and too big. Jerome Hughes, I couldn't believe how rapid he was. His footwork,
insane. Well, he was untouchable when we played them. So we played them in the group for Ireland, and the week before we played Lebanon, Liam Byrne gets banned. Jimmy Jolliffe's up for ban, and we're appealing it. And the head coach pulls me in, and he goes, Ronan, you're going to start this week against the Kiwis. I hadn't played either of the group games against Jamaica or Lebanon. He goes, you're going to start, or if Jimmy's ban comes off, you're 18th man. So the lads are calling me blackjack. They're saying I'm 8 or 18. And I'm looking at, I'll go, how can I either be starting against the number 1 ranked team in the fucking Rugby League World Cup or not playing? But anyways, I went out, and I'd say probably one of the best games I had in my career. I played 35 minutes starting lock against the best team. We went 2-0 up. 13,000 ahead in league, 10,000 probably for Ireland. And we went 2-0 up against Kiwis. The stadium went mental.
But imagine the Melbourne Storm. So they just got beat by Broncos. Imagine Craig Bellamy says, boys, go have your Mad Monday, drown your sorrows.
And then
drink as much piss as you want, but I'm going to see you on Tuesday.
To play the best team in the world.
We're going to play the Aussies on Thursday.
It doesn't make sense.
Make it make sense.
It doesn't make sense, though. That's the thing. But nothing in this sport makes sense, does it?
Wow, right.
Nothing that we do in this sport makes sense.
Like I was in England during the COVID period.
Oh, well, don't even get me started. Well, I was there. You're getting PCR tested. So this is
yeah, but I'm talking the financial side.
Oh, well, so everyone taking pay cuts.
I'm at Warrington, so I've got idiot teammates that are going, Simon Moran's got a big bank account. He'll just get his personal money out to pay our wages. I said, are you a stupid? Why would Simon Moran? He's running a business. All right. If we're not playing games, Warrington Wolves isn't making money. So guess what? He is not dipping into his personal bank account to pay us.
To make sure he's like that.
I said, pull your heads in, man. Like, it was a tough time, I get it, but like our higher earners at Warrington, we handed back 45%.
Mental,
I mean, which is crazy. Like, you had people thinking that they're like, oh, you're on the good money, you'll be fine. I'm like, yeah, but we've handed back more than anyone. Like, we kissed away about £37,000 that year.
Mental.
You know, well, which sounds like I'm crying, but yeah, we handed back so much money. But I was like, boys, this is it. Like, he's not going to pay us from his personal. They're like, mate, he's rich. He's going to do it. I'm like, no, that's not how the world works, man.
That was a crazy time in sport. In being involved in Super League then was mad. Luckily for me, I was on so little money that I didn't have to give up any.
You would have made money.
I nearly got paid. Nearly got paid more than what I was on at Huddersfield, but there was games every 4 days to make up the fixtures, and what we you're obviously doing the PCR testing. But the maddest thing about it all is, so they split us into 7 gym groups. So it was about fucking October time at the time. We do our field in the morning, and we weren't allowed to go into the training centre. You weren't allowed to be anywhere near each other. We weren't allowed to have our food at training. So we'd all sit in Starbucks together and have food together in Starbucks and wait for group 1 to 7 go to the gym. So you've been off the field, you're not allowed to shower. You've been off the field 3.5 hours, and then you go in your group of 5 to the gym. There's no atmosphere because there's no one in the training centre. And they go, right, go on, lads, do your weights. You've been waiting for 3.5, 4 hours, and you're just looking around like, people were done their weights in 10 minutes. Like, you're just like, what's the point?
What a time it was, but like, even talk about sliding doors moments. Like, we were on the brink of buying our dream home in Warrington. Like, we were gonna buy out big in Warrington, and we were gonna settle in Warrington for the rest of our lives. Then the news hits, and I'm going, fuck, this is pretty serious, babe. I don't think Super League survives this. Like, I don't think we should be taking on a mortgage right now when the game's on its ass. Like, and if you think the NRL was on its ass, imagine what the fucking Super League is. NRL got all their money back 18 months later. Like, no one cared where our money disappeared to.
Yeah.
But I also got it. I understood it. Like, the club has bills to pay, and if there's no games on, you'd love to see the Super League. They need to get away from a reliance on the live product. The live product's so great and nostalgic, like it's what they've always had. But TV's where you make your money. Like, they need to prioritize TV money. The other thing, going back to what the Super League can do better, if you look around at the stadium at your next game, 80% of your audience is going to be over the age of 60. They've got to find a way to make it more sexy for the younger crowd. But I think the way you do that is, I was so surprised in England, we don't do anything in schools.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that kids like football, but if you rang a school and you said, hey, I want to send I want to send 5 big strapping rugby league players in their uniform to stand at the front of assembly and talk about healthy eating. Do you think the kids are going to listen?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you've got a few rugby league balls in your hand and you can put a few drills on outside, do you think the kids would rather do that than their math work? Of course they will.
Exactly.
So they have to start like it's going to take a generation to turn them, but you have to get into the schools. The players need to be more willing to get out in the community. And it's hard because I know that most of the people in the community don't give a shit about your badge, but the people that will give a shit are the 10-year-old kids. Like if a big, muscly, jacked Ronan walks into the primary school, no, the kids will listen and they'll look and they'll be interested. All of a sudden you get, 50% of them go home and say, Mum, the Leeds Rhinos were at my school today, or, the London Broncos came in and they put a few drills on. Rugby league's actually a pretty cool sport. The interesting thing about the UK is all the best football towns are your low socioeconomic. So when I look at a city like Liverpool, to me, Liverpool's one of the only places in the world that reminds me of Mount Druitt. Very similar people, great, like working class people. To most people, they'd seem a bit rough and it'd be a bit scary to be in and around Liverpool. But I reckon most of the Liverpoolians, would you say?
Yeah, Liverpoolians, I think. Scousers, like.
Scousers. So they're good people until you cross them, which is that's where I'm from. But that city to me screams rugby league city.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, Liverpool and Everton have a monopoly on everything, but you give some of them kids an outlet to bash each other, I reckon you'd be surprised. So we need to get into the schools. That's how you make a dent, I reckon, in the Super League.
For sure. And I think the cherry on top of that is, what's it to a club filled with, because every Super League club has empty seats. Every Championship club has empty seats. What's it to them to give 100 free school tickets that need an adult ticket purchase? Yeah. What's that? Say you pick up 20 extra people, parent and a kid, all of a sudden they start going, the kid likes the sport, they start playing the sport. That's how it snowballs, isn't it? That, and what I think the other thing that is missing, and I'm big on this, is the media side. I think the NRL do the media so well, like the short form media.
But that's where I said Sky Sports has got a duty.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if you want to buy our sport, the Super League should be almost saying, hey, you can have it for this price, but we want a Thursday night show. We want every game live on Sky. Because as I said, I always just assume they only purchase 3 games. They own the rights to the whole sport.
Yeah.
But if you want to own our sport, you have to portray it in a light that's going to help us grow.
Yeah.
I understand why they don't put it on, because sending 8 camera crews to 8 different fields, the return on investment in our sport wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah.
But don't give it to them then. Give it to someone for a bit cheaper that will then spend that money on growing the game. Because the more times we can be on TV, we shock people. Like, our game shocks people. It's just not enough people see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's back to that point that you spoke about. If it all started again, it'd be the biggest game.
I think, our sport's good,
man. It's unbelievable. Well, that's why I fell in love with it. Like, I grew up playing rugby union in Ireland, and I was forced into a year out. The branch, the Leinster Rugby Union branch, forced me into a year out as a 15-year-old. I wanted to play professional rugby union. It's all I knew. I did not know rugby league was a thing on this side. On that side of the world, I didn't know it was a thing. The branch gave me a crossroads of, you can take a year out, you can move school or move house. As a 15-year-old, I don't get choice in moving school or moving house, so I get forced into a year out. I'm driving my mother mad, saying I want to play rugby, and she's like, well, you can play Gaelic football, you can go to the gym, but there's no rugby to be played. You need to take this year out until I find Rugby League. And Rugby League give me this avenue to channel my energy, and I actually ended up liking it more than union.
It's fucking unbelievable.
I just fell in love with the sport. I fell in love with the pace of it. I fell in love with the fact that the ball's on the field and I don't need to get into a scrum and put my head between 2 big tall things arses and go and push against, because I didn't like that side of it. You have to be strong
enough to run over someone, but fit enough to last longer than 5. Like, our athletes are unbelievable, man. It is a crazy sport.
It's CrossFit and High Rocks before High Rocks and CrossFit were a thing. That's what Rugby League athletes are. They can run, they can lift, they're strong, they're fast, and it's exciting to watch, isn't it? You talk about the freakiest people on earth playing against each other on a field. Like, how can you have someone with so much mass and so much pace?
Well, I'm a Liverpool fan, like, only since moving over. So when I got there, I knew I had to pick a team. So I picked Liverpool. My son picks Man City. Man City were on a reign sort of when we got there. So I said, I can't pick the best, but I'll pick the sort of the next best. But I still can't sit through 90 minutes on TV. I think it's a hard watch. The fact that, like, you can go 90 minutes and no goals. Like, NRL, there's action every set, man. It's either a big hit or it's a try or it's a fucking fight. Or our sport is unbelievable. I'm so proud of, like, just being a small part of our sport. It's the best sport in the world, I have no doubt. Like, it's crazy.
It's insane. And even then, That the opening round of Super League this year was a 1-0 win for Wigan against
How
Lee.
good was that to watch?
Or for Lee against Wigan. That was
War of attrition.
That was unbelievable. That was one of the best games of rugby league I've watched all year.
Yeah.
Like I was glued. I was glued to that, and it was everything you want from a game. It was quick. There was the defense was unbelievable, and it's exciting, isn't it? It's exciting to watch, and the product that it produces is outstanding, and it's freaky that well, not freaky. Freaky is not the right word. It's sad that it's not on a bigger scale, especially in the UK. It's not on the scale that it is here, and it is a bit sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's as I said, we're in a great place here. We're now at a stage where you can earn serious money. Like you've always been able to earn good money, but like you got players now earning $1.5 million. So like for a kid, and I think that's always been the attraction in England with football. Like, if you come from them areas, why would you try and get good at a sport where you can earn like unfortunately the English boys earn 20, 30, 40,000 pounds a year. Do you know what I mean? Why would you try and get good at rugby when you can earn that in a week playing football? Like I get it. The carrot's there for them, but yeah, it's so sad because it's and I love the English game. I actually love the version of rugby league that's played in England. Like I think fans would really get behind that too, but I also understand the challenges like Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2, League 3, like it's insane. And then so you've got those 8 leagues in England, and then you've got, your Bundesliga and your
Liga,
it's insane, man.
It's pulling people's attention away from what's on their doorstep, isn't it?
Yeah.
As you talk about finances, this Rugby 360 comes into the mix now. How do you think that pans out with the NRL and players on about jumping across?
In the news today?
I did see that.
The news broke today that any agent or any player that negotiates and jumps ship to R360 would be banned for 10 years. I don't know legally how that stands up. I think PR wise, I think that's just a big PR play to say, hey, we're pretty serious about stopping you from going. I don't know if you went down the legal route, whether that would be a bit of a restriction of trade. I'm not sure, but like I'm in the agent space, and I get it. I understand that rugby league's trying to protect themselves. I think we see this fizzle out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
The thing I've found bizarre is I was asking people, like, we obviously live in a rugby league bubble. So if we weren't in that bubble, would we have noticed that a lot of the rugby union players and clubs have been targeted too? Or is it literally just the rugby league boys that have been targeted so far? Because I haven't heard about, like, no one said Chesbert Kelby or no one said Artie Sarvia's on Rugby 360's list. Have you heard that?
Yeah, you're right. You're
right.
You've heard
Lomax, and you've heard Pappenhausen, and you've heard.
I don't know if it is we're in a bubble. I feel like I've detached a lot of myself from rugby union. I don't know what's going on in rugby union anymore. I'll be honest. And I grew up playing union for the first 17 years of my life before. Like I've only been playing rugby league 8 years. Do you know? And to consider myself a professional is crazy, but I've completely separated. I don't know what's going on in that world.
It's not going to have credibility until you drag away 5 of your biggest rugby union stars in the world, is it?
No, well, that's the argument. But I
haven't heard a thing about that.
Yeah, and this is the thing though. Is these ideas? Do you remember the idea that the American comp came out 2-3 years back? Do you remember they were on about having this American rugby league comp as well, and there was going to be the New York team, and all these players were going to be going out. It's the same thing, and it's diverting attention away from the now, but it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds, because if there is so much cash opportunity and the opportunity to play for such a short period of time and the lifestyle flexibility that you don't get with rugby league, because let's be honest, it limits your lifestyle, the sport of rugby league.
Do you reckon, so I spoke about before the drama of our sport, like do you think Rugby 360s maybe targeted the NRL because of the news cycle and the drama they knew it would have created? Do you think there's a fanatical enough rugby union audience online that would care enough?
I don't think so, because I don't think there's the passion attachment of Payne Haas playing for the Bronx leaving. That's like people.
Do you think that's why the NRL's been targeted?
100%, because it's marketing.
Yeah.
If you wanted to get a rugby comp off the ground, you want as many people talking about it as possible. Now, if let's say for example, if they go Gary Ringrose or Ireland Rugby Union International, he's getting an absolute paycheck to leave. Most people in Ireland are going to go, yeah, I like him, he's a decent player, but I can see why he's going. No one's gonna it's not gonna cause the same fuss that Payne Haas is going
because
to
even
R360.
because even most of them Union fans probably still are a bit more passionate about their football team.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Well, that's or their country, because
You have to have a footy team, right? You have to have a soccer team.
Well, you're gonna have a soccer team, and you're gonna have Ireland Rugby Union stands above the player. So as long as Ireland Rugby Union are performing against the Kiwis and performing against the Aussies and performing against France and England in the Six Nations, no one cares what the player does. Yeah. Whereas the thought of a Broncos fan seeing Payne Haas not in a Broncos jersey, that would destroy them.
Yeah.
Do you know the thought of Reece Walsh getting picked up and going to a different country? But even
just the idea of him leaving, causes an unbelievable stir.
100%. And if you're trying to market a competition, what would you do? You do just that. You'd get the biggest.
Get your most bang for your buck.
Yeah, it's free marketing, isn't it? You can either run all these ads, and if you think about how someone would launch a competition, they need big investors and all the things that go even above my head in sport. Or you can just get everyone on Twitter trending about what you're doing, everyone on Instagram and everyone on Facebook and everyone on TikTok talking about your competition by saying you're going to pinch X, Y, and Z and offer them triple the amount.
It's interesting. I mean, obviously they've come out today with a strong stance. It's interesting they've targeted the agents as well as the players. It's a strong message. So, it's the salaries we're at the moment are crazy. Like, based on the numbers that we've done, TV audience over the last little while too suggests that, our next broadcast deal should be a big one. Bloody good one, man. Yeah.
Does the gap get bigger between Super League and NRL?
Well, the gap's not getting smaller, is it?
Is it going to just keep pulling away, do you think, eventually? And what do you do to stop it? Because as the salaries get bigger and the players get more professional, because there's no
well, I don't know, but people just think, if the NRL gets involved, all our issues will be solved. But that's not necessarily the case.
That's not, because the top of the Super League and the bottom, the drop off in standard, like you said, from your Leeds and
there's too many teams. I think there is.
So would you say small?
I'd go smaller, and I'd get better. Yeah,
more quality.
I'd have bigger squads. You think about every Super League team for the first 5 to 6, 7 weeks competes at a very similar standard. Where the discrepancies creep in is round 17, when you've got to pull in a player that probably shouldn't really be playing Super League, if I'm honest. I had teammates at all my clubs that were on fucking £7,000. Do you know what I mean? But that guy might have played 10 games that year, and you're like, how is that kid playing? Like, clearly what you valued him at is in relation to his capabilities. But you get so thin, and the professionalism and the medical, it's all a little bit less. And then you see your Wakefields and your Cass and those types of teams, they're fielding teams that, shouldn't be at that level. So the reason why your bigger clubs do well is because they got a lot more quality throughout their whole squad. So even a few injuries can't derail them, because they're still bringing quality in. So I think they should be thinking more so than more.
You look at the situation in Salford.
But look, they're bringing 2 more teams in.
But it's going to 14.
They've announced that they won't get any access to central funding.
So, yeah.
If you're bringing 2 new teams in, they should almost get extra money. The other, they're coming into London, there should almost be a London bonus on the, who's going to go live in London on
Yeah, well, you can't offer
£2,500 flat for their family.
And you offer them $15,000 a year to play full time.
But they're getting less central funding. And
it doesn't make sense, does it?
If you're going to bring teams in, you need to give them the whole relegation and promotion system.
It doesn't work, does it?
Well, you just recycle all the same players. So all the same players that just got relegated, because it's so late in the year, the team that's coming up, who do they purchase? Well, all the same teams that just got relegated. So it's a vicious cycle. I understand we've spoken about nostalgia a bit. There is a lot of English people hanging on to what they used to love.
The glory days.
And I get it, for your Keighley Cougars, I get there's a fan base that are clinging on for dear life that one day I might see my Keighley back in the Super League. I get that. There's something special to that too. But if you want to see the game flourish, that's the system we've got to get rid of. And if you want to bring new teams in, the game needs to actually set them up for success. Not I remember when GWS come into the AFL. Well, they were given first and second round draft picks for the first 10 years. Which some people said that was unfair, but the AFL said, hey, if we're bringing in a new franchise, we need it to be successful. Otherwise, we just look like a laughing stock.
Yeah.
So you can bring London in. London should get $1 million extra salary cap, because it allows them to hit the ground running, build a bit of hype. Because if you're not winning, man, no one's going to get behind it.
100%.
But I find that system so stupid, man. You don't find out that you're coming up until in
Now,
October.
well, that is in the next 2 days.
So who do you buy?
You
You buy all the blokes that just lost their job that have been relegated.
the players who've just got relegated with a different badge then go to the next team.
It's ridiculous.
It doesn't work, and I listen. As I say, I'm biasing because I have a foot in the door of this situation. But how does I don't know how it's going to pan out.
IMG's been I don't know what the consensus is over there, but they've been a failure. They come in with great plans and ideas. They haven't solved any issues in the game, have they?
But I'm sure there's lights in clubs now. There's a big TV screen.
Oh man, far out. Like it's. I think they need to separate the Super League and the Championship. The Championship can still be a strong competition, but it should almost be at a point where you can have a team that you barrack for in the Champ, but you also have a Super League team. You can go to a Super League game on a Friday night, and you can go down to your local Keighley Cougars on a Sunday, and you can still barrack for them. If they raise the championship trophy, that's still a big thrill for the local community, but they don't get a chance to come play in Super League. Man, they've got a stadium that fucking runs downhill. Like, let's be realistic. Like, is that the look? Like, do you want Sky Sports at Keighley on a Friday night for a game of footy? No way. You're going to say, hey, you've done a lot for our sport. Thank you very much. But you're going to play in a championship comp, and the only trophy you'll ever be able to win from here on in is a championship trophy. The Super League's for the big boys, and we're going to take some of your good players every now and then. We'll give them a chance to play on the big stage, but otherwise you'll just be a smaller community club, and you'll keep producing players. Unfortunately, that's the way the game has to be. And there'll be a few 70, 80-year-old blokes that, you know, they've barracked for Keighley and clubs like that for a long time. But sadly, we've got to get with the times. Lock in I reckon 8, 10 maximum, but lock them in. And then you get 2 or 3 extra from a team out of Champ to come up to Super League, and then you start getting a better balance of talent. But
and let's blow out scorelines, I suppose. You stop seeing the blowout scorelines. This is what I have had this conversation with loads of people. I think some of the teams just need to become strong amateur teams, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like
strive for a championship trophy. Yeah. Like we have a New South Wales Cup, or we have a Jim Beam Cup, or a Denton Cup. It's still huge for the community when you win.
Yeah,
but you just need to understand that you haven't got the structures to be in our best competition. Like, I don't think that's too unreasonable. You'll still be in the Challenge Cup.
Yeah,
you can join the Challenge Cup, and you walk the road to Wembley, and you can have the faith every year that, hey, I might get to Wembley. But other than that, man, you don't deserve to be in the Super League, and that's just a sad reality, really.
Yeah, and that's just life, and that needs to come from powers way above even the people who...
You know the other issue in Super League?
What?
Guess who called the shots in the Super League? Every owner.
Yeah,
so nothing can get passed in the Super League unless every owner votes on it. Well, what do you think what decisions are owners going to make?
Well,
decisions that suit their club.
Well, this was probably the thing that frustrated me most with English Rugby League was the Toronto Wolfpack situation. I have a Canadian passport. I was born in Canada. Half of my family are in Canada, so I'm biased towards that. But how can you let 11 other clubs vote the Toronto Wolfpacks out of the comp and then pull their players? But if you want Ricky Latelli, what are you going to do? You're going to vote him out and take Ricky Latelli?
Look at the last one. Wigan were the only club that was professional enough to withstand from a vote because they weren't given all the information. Right? Every other club voted, but there would have been something in it for them to vote. Well, the fact that the individual owners of each club call the shots for the whole game is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Because who do they care about?
Themselves, 100%. You're not going to let your club sink.
So Gary Hetherington, right? What do you think his stresses are every year? He just wants to sell out his stadium, and he wants to make sure all his corporate boxes are sold out every game. Whatever decision he can force everyone else to make, because every owner's the same thing.
Yeah.
But if you're prioritizing your own stadium and what goes on in there, the bigger picture through the whole game will never get to the levels that it will, because we can't prioritize our live product. And I know that it's so special in England, but at the end of the day, selling 10,000 tickets a weekend is never going to be enough. We need more money than that. So, like, all we've sung about in the last 5 years is Peter V'landys. How good is he? Like, what a legend. But this is a guy that's backing himself and making the right decisions.
And 5 years ago, he was the worst man on the planet. 5 years ago, when he started introducing these things, it was uproar, wasn't it?
But he's making decisions for the entire game. Hey, Brisbane, you might not like this decision, but for the whole game, we're going to do it.
Yeah, I think it needs to be. It probably does need to be franchised, but I don't. Obviously, in 2 days' time, the whole IMG situation is going to come into its full effect as such.
At what point do we say IMG didn't work? But or are those like are those sentiments being had in England at all?
I think it depends on which clubs get what results, whether IMG's worked or not. If your club gets put into Super
They
League,
haven't changed anything, have they?
do you know what I mean? If
They haven't changed anything, have they?
No, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. I'd say yeah, but there's a bit more viewership and there's a bit more social media engagement and arguably making a little bit better standards throughout stadiums. But I'd say anyone could have done that. You could have just stamped down the law. Everyone needs to have a TV at the stadium. Stamp down, or you're not playing in the Super League this year. You don't need an external person to do that. The RFL just stamped down that law. Boom. Everyone needs to have an academy, a women's team, an underage system, a reserves team, and boom, everyone needs to push their social media and get a TV in. Done. Do you know what I mean? You don't need someone else telling you this is the grading for you to get points to stay up. You know, I don't think that needs to happen. Someone just needs to go, this is the minimum standard for a Super League stadium.
Have we written Salford off yet?
I think, well, they're not wrote off until tomorrow, but they fielded 70 players this year, so I don't know what's going on. They weren't paying players. I feel bad for any player in that situation, because like you know like we spoke about this emotional roller coaster, and you know how hard it is to play this game as it is, and then to not know where you're getting your next paycheck is a scary time.
We all had a glimpse of that in COVID.
In COVID, yeah.
But imagine going through it when you're the only club in the whole comp going through it. Like it's tenfold. But
and there's no RLPA over that side, and
well, that's the other thing. Yeah,
you're sort of going through that, and I experienced that firsthand when I was at Huddersfield. I was on my Super League deal, and they pulled me into the office and said, "You're going to go to Canberra under 20s for the year." And I'm like, this is the best thing ever. You're telling me that I'm going to go to Canberra and then come back to a new Super League deal. I was like, this is the best ever. And in the space of 3 months, I went from high up here at Canberra, I'm living in Australia in an NRL system, to I'm unemployed. I'm not employed by Huddersfield nor Canberra. I'm washing windows back home in my mum's bedroom in Balbriggan in Dublin. And I'm like, what is going on here? Do you know what I mean? And when you're riding that emotional roller coaster,
you wouldn't even know who to turn to.
You don't know. You don't know what to do.
Or you don't have an
RLPA. And for the Salford players, like, I just think that whoever put that jersey on this year, like, hats off to you, and the lads who stayed and the lads who went, like, that's an impossible mission, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, players go there for different reasons. Like Jack Walker went there to revive his career, you know, and he'll be grateful for Salford, because you probably get a Super League deal now, and you know, he's been pulled out of the wilderness. But I think, as I said, 8 teams, 10 teams, lock them in. That's it. No one else. Like clubs, I keep mentioning Keighley, and I'm sorry to any Keighley, you know, clubs that are listening, because it's the name that comes to mind. But they can take pride when one of their own gets signed by Leeds or, you know, those areas. So the other thing they can do is scholarships. I think they can force kids to sign scholarships with their clubs. I understand that if you're from Cass, it might be more sexy to sign with Leeds. But like, I was blown away by how many players across the Super League are from Cass. Yet they all sign with Leeds. And Cass is a struggling club. Like, come on, man. Like, let's fix this up. I think you can play. I think they should create rugby league schools where, hey, if you're from Cass, you're going to go to Cass High, because you're going to have a rugby league team. So if you can all go to the same school, you're going to have a better rugby league team. Then you're going to verse Warrington High. Then you're going to verse St Helens High. So the only way to keep them together, I reckon, would be in the school system, because private schools aren't a thing in the UK, which is I found different. It's obviously it's public education, or it's full on private. They don't have anything in between.
Yeah, not like a sports scholarship.
But I think they need to get a bigger imprint in schools. You know what I mean? Because if you give kids a chance to get out of maths or have a day off for a rugby league tournament, they will sign up, and they will learn how good our sport is, and there'll be more chance to play it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. What does the future look like for Blake Austin?
I'll be a big agent. I know that. I'm doing it on my own for now. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. Like, I feel like it's always been my calling. I also love talking footy, so I'm hoping to do a lot more of that. And then, just trying to make an impact on, like, as an agent, I feel like my responsibilities are to educate parents and help them on their journey, because sometimes the parent needs more help than the kid. Like, hey, settle down. It's all good. It's a long journey. Like, we don't have to stress. This is where he's going to be for the next 3 years, and he's just got to knuckle down. And so I'm enjoying, like, when I'm meeting kids, I often, you know, picking parents is important as picking kids. But sometimes some kids also need a bit of extra help to deal with their parents, and so it's a relationship where it's educational. But yeah, so it'll be rugby league. Like I said, everything I'm doing is rugby league. I always knew that's what it would be because all I've done for the last, I'm 34, so all I've done for the last 30 years of my life has been rugby league, and it will be for the next 30 years, 40 years too. So, yeah, I'm enjoying giving my thoughts and ideas on the game. So far, it seems like people enjoy listening. So I endeavour to sort of continue doing that, and other than that, man, life's pretty good. My kids are getting old. I'm the father of it. My son turns 15 in 2 months. Like that's crazy. I remember being a 20-year-old in Canberra that had a son pretty young. He's going to be 15. Like life flies, man. Just enjoy it.
Blake, I have to say, I'm excited to see the future with you, mate. That was absolutely awesome, and that was a serious message. Thank you, my man.
Thank you.